Hi guys, welcome to Digital TechJoint. In this tutorial, we are going to learn about identity service in .NET 6.0 using ASP.NET. So what are the topics that we are going to cover in this session? We will be covering the introduction to identity service in ASP.NET. We will be creating a small ASP.NET web application using MVC pattern that will enable you to create, read, update and delete records. And then we are going to set up an identity service using Scaffolding identity package and include the registration, login and logout functionality in our application. And we will also make sure that any user who wants to access our lead modules should log in before accessing the lead module. So this will ensure that only authorized user can access our lead module. Since I don't want the video to create it in a lengthy length, so what I did is that I have divided this entire tutorial in multiple sections. The first section, we are going to add this registration, login and logout functionality, and in the subsequent session we are also going to list all the users that we registered in our application, and we will add the roles for each users, and then finally implement authorization based on the role. So before we get into identity, let me just clarify one concept is about authentication and authorization. Authentication means you are allowing access to your user after they provide a valid credential, whether it can be username or password or email or OTP. So once that authentication is successful, then authorization comes into picture where you authorize user to access certain modules. So for example, an admin role has authorized to all the modules, whereas an employee will be authorized to access only certain modules. So those concept of giving selected access to the module is authorization, and authentication is validating the user using their credentials. So getting back to our introduction, what is identity service in ASP.NET? ASP.NET Identity provides the required functionality to add, register, sign in, sign out, manage users, password, profile, authorization, roles, claims, token, email confirmation and much more. It's a complete user management suite that enables authentication as well as authorization. It also does provide support for external authentication services like Facebook, Google, Microsoft account and Twitter. So this was more of theoretical part, and make sure that you have the following prerequisite installed on your PC. One is Visual Studio 2022, then .NET Framework 6.0 and Microsoft SQL Server Express Edition 2012, which is freely available on the internet. If you have Microsoft SQL version which is less than 2012, then still it will work around, because we are using the database only to store the record and create some tables. So let's move on to the hands-on session. So I've opened Visual Studio 2022 and I'm going to create a new project. I click on create new project. I select ASP.NET Core MVC module. Since I've already worked with this, it is displayed in the recent project template, but if you don't find it, then you can just simply type ASP.NET and you can see the template should be visible. ASP.NET Core Web App Model View Controller. You select that, click on next. So here we are going to write the project name. So basically say Sales CRM application. So I call it Sales CRM app. This is the location where we are going to store our project, and this is the name of the solution. So click on next. I'm selecting .NET Framework 6.0, and for now I will untick configure for HTTPS and click on create. So a project is created. The second step we will do is that we will create a database. So I'll open Visual Studio Microsoft SQL Server 2012. Right click on database. I select new database and I say Sales CRM. So this is the name of the database. I won't be creating any tables as of now, and I'll just copy this server instance for my connection string. So my table is created, sales CRM. Now come back to our Visual Studio and I double click on app settings.json. And here I'm going to set up the connection string. I say connection string. I give it a name. I say default connection, or if you want, you can say sales CRM connection colon, and then you say server, and I copy the server name. Database is sales CRM colon, and I'm going to use integrated security as false. So I'm taking the Windows authentication by default, but if you specify as root, then you will have to give the user ID and the password for connecting to your SQL Server database instance. My connection string is set up. The next step is I'm going to do is create a model. So right click on the model folder, say add a new class, enter the name as sales lead entity. This is our entity class. Let's define some properties. So I say prop, double tap and tap. This is my ID, which is a primary key for this. Then I say prop string first name, string last name, mobile, and finally email. And then since it's a lead module CRM, I'm going to say source of lead, so I'm going to say lead source, or I can just simply say source. So this is the property defines my entity class. Now I'm going to do is that I'm going to download and install the required packages. I right click and say manage NuGet packages. I click on browse. So first is entity framework core. I type in entity framework core. So this is the one. This is the latest stable one, 6.0.10. I install. Then I select SQL Server. So here, since I'm working with SQL Server database, I said Microsoft Entity Framework Core.sql. I install that. I'll be selecting Microsoft Entity Framework Core Tools, since I'm going to use migration command to create tables in the database. Okay, so right now I'm not going to select any class related to identity service. That I'll show it in my next step. So let's go ahead and since our packages are ready, let's create our DB context class which will connect to database. Right click, create a folder called data. Right click on the data, click on add class and name it as application DB context class. So this class will primarily responsible for declaring the table name that will be created in a database and also inject the connection string in the class. So what I'm going to do is that this class will implement DB context class. So I say DB context. Okay, and the reference is not there. I click on that control and dot. You get this option. It says using code. You need to refer this code. It's done. Then click on application context and you'll see this option on the left hand side. Click on that and select generate constructor with options. So this line of the code is enough. Now we are going to inject the connection string from our program.cs file that I'll show to you. So once this is defined, let's define the data set. So I say DB set, and this is the DB set, and I'm going to refer that sales entity class over here, and you need to name the table names. For example, I have sales lead. So this is the table name that I want to create it in the database with these properties that are defined in the entity class. Okay, so this is done. Now the fourth step is go to the program files, and just before the builder.build, you just add builder.services.add db contest and use the application db contest that we class, enter bracket options lambda and options dot use sql bracket builder dot configuration dot get connection string, and define the connection string, that is sales crm cnn and colon. Let me just cross check whether I've used the same name, sales crm cnn. Yeah, it's the same name. So as I mentioned, we are actually injecting the connection string class, okay, when the application is loaded, into our application db contest class that we created over here. So what this will inject as well as establish the connection to the database, and then we have the table defines sales lead that will be created once we run the migration command. So I think so we have set up everything. Now let's go ahead and run the migration command so that our tables can be created, and then we can proceed in creating our module. So I click on the NuGet package, go to package manager console, and here I'm going to type the command saying add migration, and this is my initial database setup, and I click on enter. So the migration is started. It has succeeded. Okay, so you can see on your project explorer on your right hand side there is a folder created called migration. So this migration file has all the definition for creating a table, that is create table sales lead with all the columns that we define in the entity class. And then we have something called application db contest snapshot, where we define the schema. So the script is ready, and in order to execute it, we need to add a command that will say it's update -database. So this will actually go ahead and execute the class and create the tables in our database. So the update database script got successfully executed. There is one small correction that I missed to inform. In my connection string which I defined, integrated security I had mentioned as false. So basically integrated security should be true if you want to do a Windows and local authentication. So since I had done false, the script was not executed. However, corrected that integrated security should be true and then executed update database, and got successfully executed. After that, I go to the database and try to refresh my database tables, sales CRM, and I am able to see the tables is created. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to quickly create a scaffolding and create a module that will help you to add and update leads. So this I'm doing because our primary focus is not about adding and understanding the CRUD functionality, but how do I secure this application by implementing register, login and logout. So for that, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to say add new scaffold item, and I'm going to select MVC controller with views using entity framework. So let me just select this option. So we are going to select MVC controller with actions and using entity framework. What is this going to create? This will create actually a API, but we don't want an API, we want a controller. So I think we should go with a MVC controller views using identity framework, and we select the model class, which is sales entity. So application sales view program. So this is our model class, and then this is our TP contest class. This is a controller sales lead entities. So we should remove entities and we'll say only sales lead. Okay, and in fact we should just say leads and click on add. So now the scaffolding is working out, and this will create the entire pages for us. This will create the index page, create, edit, delete page, everything for us, and then we'll add some records, and then once that is done, we'll go and implement the identity module in our project. And we'll also see what are the changes that has to go through in order to implement the identity model in database. So here you see we have a controller, we have leads controller added, and it has all the methods. It has a DB contest class that we created, and it has index to display the record, get the details of the leads, create new leads, and then edit, and finally delete. So let's go ahead and let's try to call this project, run the project, and add some leads. Fine, so we are not added the URL, so we'll go and type the URL directly over here. It's leads, and then slash enter. This should open the index page, which will display all the leads. Right now it has no data, so it will display no records. We'll click on create new, and we say this is a mobile number, this is john@yahoo.com, sources from website. So we add our first record, and this is added. We add a second record. This is the number, regina@gmail.com, and this is from YouTube. So we added 2 records. I think so this is enough, and our module is working absolutely fine, and we can go ahead and edit it also. So, and we change the number of stuff. So we add it, so we'll be able to add, update, we are able to do all the functionality. Now we want to secure this project. So how do we secure this project? In order to secure this project, we want to give the capability to user to sign in. So when we call about sign in, then we should also give the facility to register. So let's see how to implement identity now in our project. So let's go ahead, and before we proceed, let's go ahead and add the link of leads in our, we copy this home page. In our home page now, just next to our home, we click on link, and in the ASP controller we say leads, and action is index, and this will be our sales lead. So we added a link. So close all the tab, and we just run the project once again and try to access a lead model directly from our menu that we created. So we click on sales lead, and we are able to see our page loaded. Okay, fine. Now in order to implement identity, we need to right click on the project, say add new scaffold item. Now in your left hand side there is an option called identity. Click on that and select add. Now when you do that, you will be prompted to select options that you need to include in your project. There are, as I mentioned in my PPT, there is a lot of options provided, as you can see on the screen. Okay, there is email, there is login, logout, registration, confirm email, forgot password. All these options that enable you to manage the entire user management is provided in this identity module. Now in this project we are going to add registration and login and logout. However, I'm selecting override all files and I'm going to add all the files in the project because we are going to use this project in the next video series to show further functionality of identity, like adding roles and assigning roles to the user registered, and then accordingly manage our views and restricts our views basis the login. So that is the reason I selected all these files. Now below you can see data context class. It gives the option to add a new data context class, but we have already created our application DB context class, okay, that we can select it so that whatever tables that are created for identity can be automatically created in this database called sales CRM. So we can go ahead and select the DB context class. However, if you notice, we are not able to see any of the class that is there added in this project. Why? Because our DB context class should implement identity DB context class and not just DB context class. So for that you need to go to the data folder, application DB context class, and here you can see DB context. So I'm going to change this to identity DB context class. But this reference is not added because I have not added this package purposely. So I click on that on the scene, press Control and then dot. So I'm able to see an option saying install package Microsoft ASP.NET Core Identity Entity Framework Core. So I'm going to use this and I'm going to install the package right now in this project. So here is a Microsoft ASP.NET Core Identity Entity Framework Core. I select that and I click on install. I accept. So this gets installed. Now if I come over here and click on control and dot, it says using declaration should be there. So I will use this Microsoft ASP.NET Core Identity Entity Framework Core. Now if I go ahead and right click on the project, say add scaffolding, select identity, click on add. Click on override, and now if I click on the data context class, I should be able to see my application DB context class. I select it and I click on add. So now we'll have to wait for some time till entire pages and everything is added in the project. Please make a note, identity works with Razor pages, okay, and so it is very essential to understand how Razor pages work and what are the events of the Razor pages. In my channel there is a playlist for two playlists. One is to understanding the various aspects of ASP.NET Razor pages, and I've created a complete course on ASP.NET Razor pages, so please go ahead and watch it. So now it's done. Scaffolding is added, identity is added using scaffolding, and you see there are a couple of changes done in a project. First, there is a folder called areas which is added, and inside the areas there is a folder identity, and inside that there is pages, because in Razor pages the endpoint for all the pages of views is always under pages folder. And then we have the accounts which has all these Razor pages, and then we have another folder called manage with all these features. So entire user management Razor pages and functionality is added by ASP.NET Identity Service. In this project we will be focusing on logout, login and registration. So if you click on the registration, you see the Razor page code is there where it takes the registration input from the user, that is email address, password and confirm password. And then the same module we also have the code behind file, that is register.cs, html.cs, where it has the code behind logics, where it defines the properties, and it has on post which saves the data into a database and create new users, methods and everything. We'll explore this in detail, but as of now please understand that everything is added in a database. Now obviously when you register something, it gets saved in a database, and then when you log in, it gets validated against the database. But if you notice, there is no table added over here. This is the same table that we created, but it does not have any table that is added by identity. So let's do one thing. First, understand what are the changes that have been included. As I mentioned, there is areas folder added, which has all the Razor pages required for user management. Then under the views in the shared folder, there is something called underscore login partial, which is added. Okay, and then in our program.cs, if you notice, there is an addition of builder service add default identity, and this is a class identity user, which is an important class for the identity module, which manages the entire user options, user management, and there are other class also which is very helpful, like sign-in manager and user manager and everything, which we'll understand gradually when we cover more topics. So this is a line added, and then we have this code. We have added this code automatically, and then we have added areas. These are the two changes. Now let's go ahead, and in order to include our login and registration in our module, in our home page, let's go to views. Note that this page is added underscore login partial. This will be used to display login registration option to our users. So we just make a note of this name, and then we go to our layout, and in the top headers, after this div, we are going to add the partial name, that is underscore login partial. So this is added. Let's go ahead and run the project now. We should be able to see the login option and register option on the top right hand side. You see register and login option is added. Now if you click on login, you see nothing is happening, and if you click on register, there is no movement and no redirection is happening. Why? Because we are working right now with ASP.NET MVC project, and if you notice in our program.cs file, there is already a map control route added, but there is no routing added for Razor pages. As I mentioned, the entire identity is developed by Microsoft in Razor platform, Razor pages, and that is why I am insisting user to, if you are not aware of Razor pages and not work with Razor pages, do watch my videos available in my channel to understand how do you work with Razor pages. So since we have not added the routing, so on click the page is not getting routed to the respective page. So we're going to add that over here. Say app.map Razor. So there is this map Razor pages. So this is added over here. Now let's go ahead and run the project and try and see whether we are able to redirect it. But I'm sure it won't work because we have still not seen any tables added to our database. I'll tell you how do you do that. So we click on login. So now it is successfully redirected, and if you click on register, you can see email, password and login. And when you click on login, you can see email and password for login. So but let's go ahead and try to see whether it's working. Obviously it will not work, but I want to see what is the error it is shown. If you click on login, I'm sure it will throw an error, and there is an error saying invalid object name ASP.NET users. So basically what is happening is, this is a connection string defined. It is going to our database CRM, sales CRM, and authenticating the username, email address and password against the table which is not available in our database. In order to create all the necessary tables, adding tables, we need to run a migration command. So let's go ahead and NuGet manager, package manager console, and here I'm going to say add migration, and I'm going to say identity tables. I click on enter. So once I do, the migration started, and it's successful, and you should be able to see a migration class under the migration folder saying identity database, which is a name, and here you can see all the database tables. This one, yeah, let's see all the data, ASP.NET roles, and then there is ASP.NET users with the fields defined by Microsoft which can be modified and extended. Then there is ASP.NET role claims. So there are a lot of tables created. Let's go ahead and execute the script. So I say update database. All the scripts that is generated in Microsoft should be created in our database. So script is getting executed and it is done successfully. Let's go ahead and right click and refresh our tables, and you'll be able to see this following tables. So this is our table which we created. Now these are the tables created by Microsoft identity package. First important is .NET users, roles, claims, role claims, and then user token and everything. So right now the table is created, database connection is established, everything is set. Now let's go ahead and register one user. So I click on register and I enter my, say let's add a username. Peter@yahoo.com. Let's give Peter $6 and Peter $6. This is a password, and I click on register. So once you click on register, this record should be saved in the database. It is saved, and it is just, since generally what happens when you register a user, it sends an email and you confirm it. So in this case, Microsoft has given a mock page for us so that we can confirm the user that is added in the database. So when you click here to confirm the account, the user added will be active. Now this page can be modified and you can send email on real time using the code of sending email from .NET. Even that video is available in my channel. You can then remove this mock page and directly send email and ask user to validate or activate using the email that is sent on their email address. So for now we are going to click here to confirm the account. The account is confirmed. Now let us go to the table and refresh the ASP.NET users. So just select and you will be able to see Peter username added in the database. You can see Peter users is there. So that means let's go ahead and try to log in. So I say Peter. So it's already there, and I give the password Peter $6, and I click on login, and you see hello Peter@yahoo.com. This is a username that is defined, and this is a logout. So even this is taken care. So when you log out, you can see login register. Let's register one more name, bob@gmail.com, and then bob123$, bob123$. And if the validation is already added, it doesn't match, I click on submit, it say the password doesn't match. Everything is taken care. $123. So it says it has to be having also B capital $123, B capital $123. That's it. This should work. Yes, and we confirm this user also now. So in our database we have 2 users now. Sorry, I just clicked on debug. Click on execute. We have 2 users added over here. Now we can just see whether we are able to log in with Bob. We enter bob@gmail.com and click on, so it is logged in. Now if you click on sales module, we are able to see the data still even if there is no login. How do you ensure that we log in and then only access our sales lead? In order to do that, what we need to do is that we can use an attribute called authorize. So we will go to our controller sales leads, and here on the top we add a tab called authorize at a module level, at a controller level, sorry. So what happens is it will ensure that the username or the session is active, and then only it will allow access to view the lead modules. Let's go ahead and try this out. So now it is displayed. As if we click on this, it will display login page. So you notice that it did not allow the user to view the details unless he logs in. So when he clicks on the sales lead, is thrown to the login page. So I'll go and click on login. I click on the login, enter the username, password, email and the password. Now if I click on sales lead, you are able to see the record. So one more thing I'd like to mention is that all these modules that we have added in our table, that registration and login and logout, can be modified. It can be customized for our need. For example, in our registration page, we are able to see only the email and password, but you can go ahead and add name, username, then email, mobile number, role and everything. You can define it, you can extend it by updating the database table and using migration to do that, and then accordingly making the changes in our Razor page code. So in our next video, we are going to use the same project. We are going to add roles and we are going to add module that will display the users registered in our projects, and then we will assign the user with a particular role and then define the access also. So in the next video, I'm going to add the sales module as well as employee module and add certain users and give them certain rights and restrictions so that you can use the same in your real world projects. So guys, I hope this video tutorial was helpful. This was a kickstart for using identity module in your project. Do stay tuned because I'm going to release more such videos on identity which will cover the entire user management. Please do subscribe to my channel, like all my videos, share my channel link with your colleagues and friends and help me grow my channel. Thank you so much.